na nga, ang ating topic for today sa ating mental health tips is what to do when you can't eat due to mental or emotional stress. Okay, so it's very common, sabi ko nga kanina, di ba, to hear people stress eating pag, well, stressed. But have you ever heard of people not eating pag stressed? Or are you actually one of those people? Next slide, please. Stress eating, or actually loss of appetite, is not something commonly talked about. Lalo't ang kadalasan nating narinig are stuff about losing weight or managing weight gain. But inability to eat or loss of appetite is an actual problem. And yan yung pag-uusapan natin today. Next slide, please. According to medical professionals, mas susceptible sa appetite loss ang adolescent females and young women. Ang ratio ng female to male cases could range from 10 females for every male up to 20 females for every male. Next slide, please. At ang median age of women affected is around 18 years old, o diba ang bata? Okay, so people who experience loss of appetite face stress that could be due to physical stress, meaning physically pagod yung katawan. May changes na nangyayari sa katawan, possibly a physical disease or some other reason na physically related, or it could also be due to emotional or mental stress, where it's the mind that ends up burdened ng kung ano-anong thoughts, problems, and whatnot that ends up stressing the person out. In short, kakaisip natin ng kung ano-ano. Next slide, please. Ayun. So today, we'll be focusing more on the emotional or mental aspect of this issue and how we could possibly go about it if we or someone we know ay isa sa mga nakakaranas ng ganitong problem para malaman natin kung ano yung kailangan natin gawin. Okay? So much like last episode, we'll once again use an acronym to help us remember yung important points na dapat natin gawin when we end up losing our appetite due to emotional or mental stress. Okay, so next slide, please. Let's go to our acronym. Ang acronym natin for today is I'm able. I am ABL. So as you can see on the screen, ang sabi ng quote ay, believe you can and you're halfway there. Since a lot of things start with self-trust, isa yan sa i-reinforce natin today. Kayang-kaya natin yan, lalo na itong struggle na to is oftentimes hinakaharap natin mag-isa. So, let's go guys. Next slide, please. Okay. So, our first letter is like last episode, I. And it stands for identify. Next slide, please. So, identify our stressors. What stressed us? It's pretty much the same thing, pero this time, ang susubukan natin, alamin, is yung stressors natin. Unlike last time na emotions, di ba? Nag-focus tayo sa emotions. But this time, we're gonna focus on stressors na na-experience natin at the moment instead of simply identify yung emotions lang na nararamdaman natin. Kaya tayo nawawala ng ganang kumain. So again, pause, take a few deep breaths, then mag-isip tayo. Anong nangyari sa atin at that moment kaya tayo nawala ng ganang kumain? Is it because pagod lang tayo sa pag-aaral or sa trabaho, so mas gusto na lang natin magpahinga? Or dahil anxious tayo at mentally stressed dahil sa expectations ng mataas na grade sa exam or ng good performance sa work? Diba? Kadalasan, things aren't as they seem at may underlying cause talaga na hindi natin agad-agad napapansin. So alamin natin para aware tayo. Okay, next slide please. Yun. Afterwards, we should start with our self-affirmations by first not blaming ourselves or anyone else sa stress na nararamdaman natin. Next slide. Ayun. Iwasan nating palalain ang sitwasyon natin by adding the negative effects ng emotions na dala-dala ng blaming. And then, syempre, let's go to the next slide. Accept it. Yes, whatever we are feeling at that moment is valid, natural, and understandable. Simply accept na stress tayo at the moment and we need to take care of ourselves by addressing that stress. Even inanimate objects, yung mga bagay na walang buhay, fail when placed under extreme amounts of stress. pa kaya tayo, di ba, na mga tao na buhay, na may feelings. So, syempre, may nagiging negative effect sa atin ng stress. In this case, ang ating loss of appetite. Next slide, please. Ayun. According to research, pag stressed or anxious ang isang tao, nagre-release ang katawan ng stress hormones, one of which is corticotropin-releasing factor that actually affects the digestive system and thus could lead to loss of appetite. O diba, sabi ko sa inyo it's valid, natural, and understandable. It's a physical reaction ng ating katawan caused by the stress that we are feeling. Next slide, please. Ayan. Another thing we should look into is anong symptoms yung nararamdaman natin. May ibang nakakaranas ng nausea or yung feeling na para kang nasusuka or possibly yung sinasabing ng butterflies in the stomach kapag kinakabahan. Yung iba naman, constipation, diarrhea, indigestion, or yung feeling na para kang bloated. So dahil may some kind of discomfort tayong nararamdaman sa ating tummy area, paano nga naman tayo makakakain, di ba? Next slide, please. Ayun. So take note lang, guys. It can be quite critical na itry natin ma-distinguish if yung nararamdaman natin is actually caused by our stress or if may something nang dapat ipacheck sa doktor. Huwag tayong masyado magtipid sa sarili natin. If it's something worrisome, lalo na kung pabalik-balik for 2 or more weeks, tapos whether stressed tayo or not, nandyan siya. Huwag na po tayo mag-atubili at magpacheck na po tayo sa doktor. Next slide, please. Okay, now we go to the next letter of our acronym, which is M, manage. Manage our stress. Okay, so dahil alam na natin kung anong nag-cause ng stress natin, now we can go deal with that stress. Next slide, please. Yan. Most emotional or mental stressors often happen biglaan. Emotions nga natin, diba? It's very unpredictable. Wala tayong control kung kailan at kung gaano kalala sila nangyayari. Para ma-manage natin sila, kailangan may control tayo first and foremost sa ating minds, sa ating pag-iisip, okay? Some people do yoga, meditation, journaling, breathing exercises para ma-clear ang utak ng unnecessary thoughts or mind junk, para mas maintindihan natin ang sarili and to make space for positive thoughts, good memories, and mindfulness, or learning how to focus our attention in order to be aware sa changes na nangyayari sa katawan natin in response sa ating emotions. Next slide, please. Ayun. Understanding this mind-body connection is an important step in learning how to better manage our stress and how our emotions affect our body. Magandang alam natin kung ano nakakapagpakalma at nakakapagparelax sa atin para mas nakakapag-isip tayo ng mabuti. Next slide, please. Ayun. At dahil na-exercise na natin ang ating minds, time naman para ma-exercise ang ating katawan. Next slide, please. Ayun. So research suggests na pag meron tayong regular exercise routine, it can improve our appetite sensitivity. Ooh. Meaning, mas likely na magugutom tayo kasi our body actually has a need for energy. O, diba? Makes sense. Pagod tayo kakagalaw. So, syempre, gutom din, diba? And also, as we mentioned last episode, moving the body actually releases feel-good chemicals that make us happy. So, mas nababawasan pa yung stress or anxiety natin. O, diba? 2 birds with 1 stone. Next slide, please. Ayun. And whether we were anxious, depressed, overthinking, or kung ano man, of course, we need our breaks. Next slide, please. Ayun. So, release lang natin yung stress through actions or activities that relax us. Like if we need natin mag-alone time, tumawa, hang out with friends, mag-bubble bath sa batya. Go for it. Why not, diba? Go take a break.
Sa batya talaga.
Kasi uso ang bathtub sa Pilipinas eh. So, mag-batya tayo. Ayan. So,
Sabagay,
take a
sabagay.
break guys. Magkakalimutan. Kung meron kayong pool, sige ilabas yung pool na yan. Whether summer or rainy season,
Ayan,
go
feeling
lang.
ko sila Miss Donna, merong pool. Kasama na natin siya dito sa stream, oh. Ayan. Hi, Ate Donna. Ayan.
Ayan, Miss Donna, pahiram ng pool.
Naku, wala rin kami noon.
Ayan. So, next slide. So, next slide po. Ayun. And finally, of course, kailangan natin matulog. Ayan. Wag ngayon, ha? Kung gusto nyo magpahinga, after naman ng Mind Speaks na episode natin ngayon, pakinggan nyo muna yung mga sasabihin namin at isi-share sa inyo tonight. Ayan. So, after ng Mind Speaks na to, go and relax. Take a break. Rest. Di ba? After doing all that, syempre, we also have to rest. Pag stressed kasi tayo, our bodies need more rest. Kagaya ng sasabihin sa ating next slide. Ano nga ba yun? Ayun. So apparently, while we sleep, not only do our bodies go about their repair and maintenance work, nagtatanggal din sila ng toxins na naipon ng brains natin while we were awake. Ooh. Sleep also helps our keep our memories. Especially the good ones, we make an effort to keep. Sayang nga naman kasi ang effort, di ba? Kung puro lang tayo, puro pagod, puro puyat, hindi tayo nakakapagpahinga. So, ayan.
I feel attacked. Bakit ka naman personal?
Iba po yung kapag night shift ang trabaho. Ibang case yan. Pero in short,
Ibang
just take a
usapan.
break at magpahinga. Yes, yes. So, isa na rin naman to sa nabanggit natin. Yung good memories, nabanggit natin yan sa last episode natin na it's one thing that helps us keep our mental stability, diba? So, ayun. Asan na ba ako? Ayun, so apart from that, sleep is also vital in helping us regulate our emotions, diba? According to a study published in 2014, being sleep deprived, kahit isang gabi lang, can increase our emotional response to negative feelings by 60%. 60% po, guys.
Grabe yung 60%.
That's a lot.
Yes,
Oo.
ganun siya kalala. So, grabe talaga nagagawa ng puyat. Kaya matulog talaga tayo whenever we have the chance. At magbawi kapag kinukulang. Kasi, gets naman na yung iba dahil sa work or kung ano mga pinagdadaanan sa buhay, medyo limited ang time na matulog. So, whenever you get the chance, talaga magbawi po tayo ng tulog. Okay? At meron po tayong recommended sleep duration.
Meron tayong comment actually tungkol dyan. Nagtatanong siya,
Ayan na.
ano raw yung
Ayan na.
sleep? Sabi ni Miss Leanne Alcantara.
Meron po tayong dictionary. I-search nyo po sa Merriam-Webster sa internet. Pwede din po na may kanya-kanya tayong definition. But then, para sa ngayon, ito ay pahinga. Yung ipipikit mo ang iyong mga mata. At pagdilat mo, it's a brand new day. Okay, so yon. Ang recommended sleep naman natin is, ayan, so makikita nyo sa screen nyo. For teenagers, it's aged 14 to 17 years old. Ang recommended ay 8 to 10 hours. For adults naman, aged 18 to 64, it's 7 to 9 hours. So marami sa atin pasok dito sa middle, sa middle bracket na to, di ba? And for those older naman, it's 7 to 8 hours. So ayan, paki-screenshot na po kung gusto nyo kasi ngayon lang yan magpa-flash sa ating screen.
Akala ko okay na yung mga 3 to 4 hours eh.
Tapos meron pang nababanggit.
Ayun, kasama nga rin pala natin dito si Miss Ma
Meron pang
Sanchez ng Voice for Asia.
Ayan, hi ma'am!
Dumadami-dami na tayo dito sa
Bye,
baba.
natulog.
Ayan, marami-rami na kami dito.
Yun, oh.
Kayo ba ay natutulog? Ano ang sleep? Ayan. Pa-next slide po. Ayun. So now, dun na tayo sa ating next letter, which is arrange. Next slide, please. Ano ang first sa ating arrange tip? Arrange a schedule. Schedule ng ano? Next slide, please. Ayun. So, arrange a schedule for our meals. Dahil nahihirapan nga tayo kumain at wala tayong gana, it would be very helpful to actually have something like a schedule of when to eat na pwede nating sundan throughout the day. Next slide, please. Ayan. Schedule when you need to eat throughout the day. Next slide, please. So after natin mag-schedule ng meal times, it's time to actually meal prep at mag-plan at mag-meal prep or yung pagpe-prepare ng food beforehand. So we can prepare meals for days in advance or kahit sa umaga. I-prepare na natin yung meal for that whole day. Next slide, please. Yan. So not only does this make cooking food easier, mas nakakatipid pa tayo sa ingredients kasi planado na yung dami ng planado na yung dami ng ingredients natin, so less wastage. Diba? Nakatipid na tayo sa time, nakatipid pa tayo sa ingredients. Tapos kapag kakain na, at yun na yung food, kakainin na lang natin. Simple as that. Next slide, please. Ayun. Also, arrange a meal time alarm or mag-set tayo ng alarm kung kailan tayo kakain para less na yung mga bagay na inaalala natin. In other words, our stressors, which are things that we're trying to avoid in the first place. Kasi 'di ba, pag marami kang iniisip, oftentimes makakalimutan mo na rin kumain. So at least kapag may alarm ka, pag tumunog yan dyan, parang ano lang, estudyante, 'di ba, na pag recess, mag-ring lang yung bell, tas kakain na. Hindi mo na kailangan mag-isip kung kailan kakakain, bahala na si alarm. Ayun. So, very, very, na siya, mechanical. Talagang planchado na ang plano. I don't know kung ano pa yung pwedeng maging, pwede pang maging mas simple pa dyan. Ayan. Next slide, please. Yan. Setting mealtime alarms can help set our minds at ease so we can focus on the things we need to do or things that are important. Next slide, please. So on to our next acronym letter, and that is B, bite. Eating time. Ayan. So kakain na tayo. Of course, para hindi masayang yung pinaghirapan nating meticulous preparation, kailangan nating kumain. But then, eto nga yung problema natin, di ba? Wala tayong gana. So what can we do in order to address that? First, it's kailangan nating tanungin yung sarili natin, anong food ang kaya nating i-tolerate? Ano yung kaya nating kainin at this time? Or kapag nawawalan tayo ng gana. Yun. So kasi for some people, hindi nila kayang ma-determine agad-agad kung ano yung kaya nilang kainin every single time they lose their appetite. Minsan, kaya nilang sabihin for that time only. Minsan naman, talagang wala silang idea, which is a very, very hard situation kasi most end up not eating at all. Kasi, di ba, masastuck ka, kakaisip eh. So, oftentimes, wala ka nalang gagawin. Meron ng iba na may comfort food na no matter what their circumstance may be, kaya nilang kainin yung food na yon. Next slide, please. Ayan. So, when we can, i-note down natin yung mga food na kaya nating kainin and as much as possible, have these food on stock. Para at least, meron tayong makakain whenever this loss of appetite strikes. Diba? Next slide, please. Yan. Sa times naman na hindi natin alam kung anong kakainin natin, let's listen to the experts. And it is to eat easy to eat food. To eat easy to eat food. So ano nga bang sabi nila? Ano ang recommended? So, ang mga recommended easy-to-eat food ay liquid food like lugaw, mga soup, smoothies, fruit juice. So, madaling kainin or inumin. Another
Pasok
food
ba dyan
na...
yung Cerelac?
Pwede. May nutrients din naman ng Cerelac, di ba? Mahilig nga ang ate ko dyan noon. Sinaswipe niya yung Cerelac ko. Tuwan-tuwa naman si mama. Akala niya inubos ko. Ayan. So, another type of food na recommended ng experts ay bland food or yung hindi masyadong savory or malasa na pagkain. I think dito pasok yung Cerelac. Kasi like oatmeal, tinapay, cereal like
Mga bland.
carrots. Yes. So, if wala kang gana, kadalasan kasi nga, di ba, para ka nasusuka. So, mahirap kumain ng anything na masyadong malasa. So, maganda nga naman yung tip nila. Ayan. And another type of food is those high in proteins, vitamins, and minerals or yung mga nutritious food like chicken, nuts, tuna, beans, para naman matulungan na ma-replenish yung nutrients ng ating katawan. Kasi it's very hard nga naman na kung hindi ka makakain, tapos yung kinakain mo lang, sabihin natin, lagi ka lang naka-juice. Maganda na paghalu-haluin din natin itong tatlong to para kahit paano nagkaka-nutrients din naman yung katawan natin. Hindi lang sa makakain, kundi may maibigay din naman tayong nutrients na pwedeng mai-absorb ng ating katawan. Okay? So, ayan. Aside from that, it would also help to eat more often or mas madalas and in smaller portions. Next slide, please. Diba? Kasi onti na lang yung kakainin natin. So, it makes it more tolerable to eat kahit wala tayong ganang kumain or hindi tayo gutom. Konti lang naman eh. So, ano ang isang slice ng tinapay or isang perasong apple or isang bowl ng cereal or isang bote ng Cerelac? Diba? So, yung frequent eating naman or yung madalas natin pagkain helps provide our body with sufficient food it can break down to help fuel us throughout the day. And ang susunod, as we can see in our screens, is para ganahan tayong kumain, we can try eating in stimulating environments or good places. Ayan, next slide please. Yan. So kung mahilig ka sa nature, why not eat sa garden or sa park na maraming puno? We can even plan meals and eat with family, friends, people we enjoy eating with para naman masaya tayo at ganahan tayong kumain. Plus, masaya kaya kumain kapag may kasama. Diba?
Yeah.
And for the last letter, of course, for sure naman, mag-a-agree ang mga natin. So, mind speaks natin. Masaya kumain talaga pag may kasama. Diba? Yan. So, for our last letter sa ating acronym, it's Lessen. Lessen your load. Baka naman kasi masyadong mabigat na yan dinadala mo, i-share mo naman. So, ayan. Dahil nahihirapan tayo, kung nahihirapan talaga tayong bitbitin mag-isa, we can always ask people we trust for help. Okay? Next slide, please. So, we can ask these people, sabihin natin isang family member, friend, kasama sa bahay, or someone who we know cares about us and can help us and can support us na maging accountable buddy natin na pwede tayong sabihang kumain whenever possible or to help sa pagprepare ng food natin para we feel naman supported, diba? Kasi mahirap ang kahirapan dyan kadalasan is yung mga taong nawawalan ng appetite, madalas wala lang talaga silang energy na gawin ng kahit na ano, even yung pagtayo para kumain. And madalas, these people feel so alone. So at least this way, someone can help look over us to make sure na kumakain tayo at nasuportado tayo na hindi tayo mag-isa sa struggle natin na to. Diba? Next slide, please. Ayan. Lessen our load through store-bought food. May mga tao magre-react dito for sure. So if hindi tayo makapag-prepare ng food or hindi tayo makapagpaluto or makahingi ng tulong sa people na within the vicinity natin, we can always have food delivered or kung nasa labas tayo, bumili na lang tayo sa labas. Okay? Next slide. May mga nag-react na dyan for sure. Okay, so this will probably be more costly than eating at home. Pero ang importante kasi for people who experience this kind of struggle is na kumakain. Kasi kailangan na bibigyan pa rin ng lakas or ng energy or ng nutrients sa ating katawan. Sabi ko nga kanina, di ba? Pero, syempre, of course, bantayan pa rin natin na healthy food pa din as much as possible yung kinakain natin. Whether sa bahay tayo kumakain or sa labas. Kasi baka naman mamaya, nagpa-deliver ka, lagi namang burger. Try mo naman na di ba?
Personal ka talaga ngayong gabi, Liz.
Naman daw, magpalit ng binibilhan. Try mo naman sa susunod yung spaghetti.
Or hotdog.
Hotdog. O kaya pie. Okay, next slide please. Ayan. So, now, if nagawa na natin ang lahat, pero wala pa din, 2 weeks na or mahigit, wala pa din tayong gana. Andyan pa din yung symptoms natin. It's probably time to consult a professional. Pag ganito kasi ay possibly may eating disorder na pala tayo or some kind of physical disease that might need immediate treatment. So magpa-check up po tayo. Next slide please. Ayan. So, tandaan natin, these medical professionals underwent rigorous training. Ilang taon po sila nag-aral at nag-train, nag-practice to be able to help us in such times na kailangan po natin sila. So, wag po tayo mag-hesitate humingi ng professional assistance. Okay, now let's go to our recap slide. Next slide, please. I'm able. You are able. We are able. And this acronym stands for I identify, M manage, A arrange, B bite, and L lessen. So ayan po, if you want to take a screenshot, go lang guys. Next slide please. So first off sa ating acronym is I identify our stressors. So alamin natin what caused our stress, kaya nawalan tayo ng ganang kumain. Then do self-affirmations by not blaming ourselves or others, and then by accepting that our stress is valid, natural, and understandable. Most probably, it's just a physical reaction sa ating stress. And then find out kung ano yung symptoms na nararamdaman natin. Para malaman natin, is it something na dapat ba nating ipa-check? Or is it something na kaya pa nating i-handle ngayon? Okay, next slide please. Ayan, so next is manage our stress. And we can do this by doing mind exercises such as meditation or practicing mindfulness, exercising our bodies, taking a break and relaxing. And then syempre, getting enough sleep. Ngiti-ngiti na lang po muna.
Paulit-ulit talaga yung getting enough sleep na yan eh.
Ayaw mo, tinatamaan din ako dyan. Okay, so our third letter, A. Arrange a schedule for our meals. So, sa tip po na to, we're gonna make it as mechanical as possible. So, pwede tayong gumawa ng schedule. Kung kailan tayo kakain, kung kailan ang oras ng kain. Kada meal, may schedule yan. Pwede tayong mag-meal planning and prepping beforehand. And then mag-set ng alarm or timer pag kakain na po. Okay? Next slide, please. Ayan. And then second to the last is bite or kumain. Eat food, please, guys. Kahit ano nararamdaman nyo, kailangan talaga natin kumain. So we have finding out what food we can tolerate and then stocking up on these food para anytime we can eat at talagang kailangan natin kumain, kaya natin kumain. And then we can eat also easy-to-eat food like liquids, bland food, or nutritious food para naman mabigyan ng energy ang ating mga katawan. And then we have eating food in smaller portions at mas madalas. Okay? Kahit isang subo lang yan, pero every 5 minutes, pwede yan. And then we have eating in a stimulating environment and or with people we enjoy eating with. And finally, next slide. we have lessening our load and asking other people for help. So here, we can ask someone we trust to be our ever accountable eating buddy or natulungan tayo to prepare our meals. We can also eat outside or have food delivered. And if all else fails, we can always ask for professional help, lalo na if symptoms persist for 2 or more weeks. So that's it for today sa ating mental health tips with yours truly, Voisana.